I was going to say, while we're on that topic, how crazy is that your boyfriend who was in Harry Potter?
What? Wait,
Yes.
what?
I'm Maddie.
I'm Z as Johnny.
It girls. Maddie Brezowitz and Ajani Teeler.
I'm lit girl. Podcast with a couple it girls.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm lit girl. Podcast with a couple it girls.
Hey y'all, that's Brez and I'm Z, and welcome to the It Girls podcast, where we are bringing the stories of winning women to you. We've had the privilege of winning 4 SEC championships and 1 national championship, and along the way we have learned that every winner has a story outside of their sport. And so today we're really excited to introduce someone that needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyways. 2-time Pac-12 Libero of the Year. She's a Big 12 Libero of the Year. She's all Pac-12, all Big 12, all region, all American, and has recently won national championships. So with all that being said, welcome Zoe Fleck.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is so cool.
Of course.
Zoe, we were writing we were looking up your accolades, and Z and I was like, Z, add this. She was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, yeah, no, we have a lot to add, but
yeah.
It's honestly, it's crazy to me. Like, little young Zoe Libero would never in a million years have believed that I've won a national championship. Like, it's all crazy.
It's
Felt
yeah. Just like 1 minute elevator pitch, everything you want us to know about you, like really quick.
I loved volleyball from the moment I started when I was 9. I was never really at like a super high level, but always kind of almost there. Like, I played for USA, high performance, but never made a national team. I wasn't very highly recruited at all. I started out as a walk-on at UC Santa Barbara, and just didn't have a lot of fun. Transferred to UCLA, loved it, loved everything about the program, loved the girls, loved the coaches. And then they didn't have scholarship for me for my 5th COVID season. I was devastated, had to transfer again. But everything works out for the best, right? Ended up at Texas, loved it, won a national championship, was able to start my coaching business and meet a lot of really, really cool people. And now I'm headed overseas to go play pro. Kind of a crazy full circle kind of thing.
Oh my gosh,
Zoe.
Big announcement right there. I did not know that.
Yeah. Mic drop. Okay, so I was rushing to get on here because I'm like just now figuring everything out, like literally 20 minutes ago. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, maybe you can't share much yet, but when did you make that decision? Or how? I know Gabby Curry, if you remember Gabby Curry, it was like a really tough decision for her whether or not to go play pro as a libero. It's really hard to even get the opportunity, and then you just, if there's less opportunity and they're not as good as obviously like setters and outside. So tell us, like, walk us through that process. Yeah, being a pro libero is not the easiest life. I think there are like 300 Americans playing pro volleyball, or American women playing pro volleyball overseas right now, and I think 3 of them are liberos. So yeah, it's a very, very small pool of people. So regardless of like what your accolades are, regardless of where you came from or whatever, like, it's really, really hard as a libero. We always get recruited last, we get paid the least. So like, I was prepared for all those things, but I wanted to play pro volleyball for, I think it's kind of always been a dream, but you don't really learn anything about it, right? NCAA. So like, I started doing research last year when I knew I couldn't come back to UCLA for my 5th year. So I was considering, like, do I transfer again or do I just try to go pro now? So I kind of dove into it last season. And this year, like, since we won the national championship, I've been reaching out to clubs, reaching like with my agents, and I'm figuring stuff out, and things just like kind of fell into place literally in the last like 48 hours. And oh yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually share. No. Yeah, no, me too.
No.
Once you post, we'll repost. Then we'll say we go first.
We'll cover it. We'll act like we knew it before everyone else knew. All right, Zoe, tell us a little bit about growing up in like Santa Monica, and the culture in SoCal is like really different, but also I kind of feel like Austin is super similar to that, and so that transition, and obviously that has a lot to do with your balancing rings and all your traveling rings and balancing ropes. I don't know. It's all really interesting to me.
Yeah, so I grew up in a little bit outside of Santa Monica, but in my teenage years, I kind of just spent a lot of time outside. I've always loved to be outside. I've always loved to learn. And so this is like, everyone knows Santa Monica Pier, Sunset Boulevard, whatever.
Right.
But this little area is called like Original Muscle Beach. And it's really just like an outdoor adult playground. So it's got like traveling rings. It's got like a whole like patch of grass that people do acro yoga on. It's got trapeze stuff, like a whole slackline park. And it's just people from all walks of life just come hang out there on the weekends and just like play, you know? So there's like Cirque du Soleil.
Play.
Well, there's, no, that's literally what it is. It's like Cirque du Soleil, acro yoga people.
Yeah.
There's lawyers, there's actors, like literally people from all walks of life just come and like hang out and do these active outdoor things together.
How cool is that? So correct me if I'm wrong, but your mom was like into that, and so then she introduced you to it probably at a young age, and you kind of just like picked it up, or what?
So it's actually my dad. My dad, like hung out there when he was younger. So it's been in like my family for like 3 generations. We would hang out there. It's like my local beach. We would hang out there when I was a kid. But as soon as I turned 16 and like could drive, I was out there every single day, like literally every chance I could get. And that's actually where I met my partner out there and doing the traveling rings. He's English and an actor.
Cool.
Yes. I was going to say, while we're on that topic, how crazy is that your boyfriend who was in Harry Potter?
What? Wait,
yes.
What? What do you mean he was in Harry Potter?
He was in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like pretty
Isn't that crazy? Don't
Wait,
ask
like a
me
big
why I know
character?
that.
He played young James Potter.
So
Harry Potter's dad. Yeah. Big role. That's insane. I think about that every time I see a picture with him.
Yeah.
Does that like get up?
That is so funny.
Approached a lot in public.
He did like a couple years ago when we first met, but like since COVID, you know, most people don't really know that stuff. But he always jokes that like he used to be the more famous of the two of us, and now like if we would walk around Austin, we'd get recognized in the grocery store, and people would like shove their phone in his hands, and they're like, "Can you take a picture of us?" I'm like, "You guys have no idea, like,
right. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Oh my gosh. And so you met him at that outdoor playground? That's not the right name for it. What'd you call it? Original Muscle Beach?
Yeah, like OMB. But he's an actor. He's actually English. He's here, he's in the US on a visa. And so he would come to LA for like 2 or 3 months every year to do pilot season, basically do a bunch of auditions.
Wow.
And we just like found the community at OMB. And that's like when I was down there too. And so we met and been dating ever since.
Wow.
So have you guys been doing like long distance from, like, does he go back to the UK for part of the year?
So originally when we first met, yes, we spent the first probably 8 months of the first year that we knew each other apart. But we weren't actually dating then. But then when he came back, like the year before COVID, so 2019, he came back, and then we were like, he was in LA for that whole year. I was at Santa Barbara, and he was like staying in LA. I'd drive back and forth from Santa Barbara. He'd come up to Santa Barbara like on the weekends or whatever. And then in 2020, beginning of 2020, January of 2020, right before COVID, he moved in with me at Santa Barbara, right when I was transferring. We were in Santa Barbara for like
oh god,
4 months. And then we moved back to LA into our apartment at UCLA. We were there for a year and a half.
How far is that drive?
Hour and a half. It's not bad at all. Hour and a half. And I grew up like right by UCLA too. And so we were at UCLA for a year and a half, and then we just spent the last year in Texas. So he hasn't actually been back home to the UK in 3 years. So we're like excited to get back over there.
You guys are in it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that's cool for him to be able to be on the other side of the pond. Now he can get home if he needs to, or I know I said it really Wisconsin, didn't I?
Yeah.
It came out. I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, damn it, Z's gonna make fun of me. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. I've done long distance for 3 years now, and now I'm just getting out of it. And yeah, it's a grind. Like, it's no joke.
It's a grind, but man, if you make it to the other side, your communication is so much better than it would be if you hadn't had to go through long distance.
Yeah.
Period. And now Z and I are going through long distance together. So you can feel it, but it's like too.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if anyone loves long distance.
Yeah. Okay, Zoe, I watched a video. Wait, first of all, I was fangirling so hard that you were on Victoria Garrick's podcast.
Me too. Oh my God. Me too.
I mean, I was like, is this for real? Like, and not that I know you, but like, I feel like we know each other to an extent. So I was like, she's on Victoria Garrick's podcast. Like, that is so cool. Anyways, I was watching part of it, and you said something that resonated so deeply with me, and I just want to like talk about it. You said that basically you got to the point at some point in your volleyball career where you just cared so much that you couldn't like function being around people who didn't care. And I am the same way. Like, when I was crying about volleyball, like we all do, you know, at some point in my college career, and I was just a wreck, and I was so frustrated, and it wasn't about like my skill. It was probably about just like leadership or whatever. And I went to Z, and I'm like crying, bawling my eyes out. And she's like, you don't understand, like, people don't understand how much you care. And until she said that to me, I didn't realize that. Like, you know, most people don't care as much about what they do as us three do. So I don't know. Let's just have a conversation about that. When you said that in the podcast, just accepting that, like, amen. And that's hard to do. You know, how did you get there? And, you know, how are you at the point you're at now?
Well, I think for a long time, it was part of me that I was kind of ashamed of, because I've always been really, really intense. Like, I care a lot about all the things I do, not just volleyball, but like anything I do, I care a lot about. I care a lot about people and relationships. And so that was kind of something that I wasn't sure about and kind of tried to hide for a long time. And I think a lot of that is part of why I didn't have a great time at Santa Barbara, because I felt internally like I cared a lot, but wasn't comfortable showing that. And so then I would just like feel a lot of internalized shame. And then I isolated myself from my teammates and my coaches and just like didn't have a good time. And so then when I got to transfer to UCLA, right when COVID hit, so we had like 6 months basically where I didn't have a team, nowhere to train.
Crazy.
Like, it's crazy. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, just like hanging out and watching film, getting better, doing everything. That's when we picked up tennis. And so that was really such a good time for me to understand what I did wrong at Santa Barbara so that I could go into UCLA with a completely fresh start and do things differently. You know, because I could have easily had the same experience I had at UC Santa Barbara at UCLA, because a lot of it was because of how I felt about me. And so I had that time to just like realize, this is who I am. I love volleyball. I care a lot about volleyball. So I'm actually going to give everything I have to the sport instead of hiding from that part of myself. And people are going to either accept that or they're not. You know, but people will understand that that's kind of how I roll. And then it was so cool at UCLA, like, regardless of if people liked me or not, they understood that that's who I was, and I didn't feel like I had to apologize for it or hide from it. But I just got to start over, you know?
I definitely feel like that's something that comes with like growing up and maturing. Like, you're a freshman, and I don't know how long you spent at UC Santa Barbara, but you were younger than you are at UCLA in Texas. And so kind of growing up in yourself and the sport and being surrounded by people that kind of are like-minded, that probably becomes a lot easier.
Absolutely.
I think like both of you will probably agree with this, that when you're 18, you care so much about being liked. When you're 22, you feel you care so much about being respected. And like those two are like mutually exclusive. Like, you oftentimes can't be liked and respected. And that was something that was really hard for me to swallow for the longest time. Still is very hard in a lot of areas. Like, he's like, Brez, shut up. You're still like, I struggle with that. And I do. And I think it's just like, it's an ongoing struggle. So I respect you for that, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah. I mean, being a team sport athlete, we kind of all have to figure out how to have those relationships with other people, which means we need other people to like us. Right. So I think we all get to college and we've gotten so good at making sure other people like us and making sure our relationships on and off the court work, regardless of how we are feeling about ourselves. And so once I kind of had the time to step back and be like, okay, but who am I? Do I respect me? Do I like me? And then kind of just like asking those questions and figuring that kind of thing out for myself, and then coming to terms with the fact that that's not going to be for everybody. Right. And that's okay. But me caring about volleyball, if that turns people off, then I'm not in the right place. Or those don't need to be my people. And we can have respect for each other and play together and be cool, but those don't have to be my people, right? So for me, it was more about, do I like me? Do I respect me? Am I someone that other people can have respect for because I have the respect for myself? So.
And so much that also... Sorry, Z. I don't know why it's kind of, but so much of that also has to do with being the same person every day. Like, consistency freaking matters, and not just in sports, but like in life. Knowing like who you're gonna get every single time they walk in the gym or every single time they walk into the office. Like, I think that says a lot about a person as well.
For sure.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about going vegan, like kind of right when I went to college. Because that's something that people have questioned me on every single day since I went vegan, like a lot. And
oh my gosh,
I had to really iron out why I'm doing this, what my reasons are for it, and do I really believe in this? And I really did. And so that was kind of the first stepping stone to being like, okay, this is who I am. I'm not backing down from this. So why am I backing down from anything else? That's like an integral part of me. And so I think that's kind of why I was able to make the switch, because I had already been kind of fighting for myself and backing myself up with veganism and all the questions I got there. And then I was like, wait, I also care a ton about volleyball. Why am I hiding from that? And so then I started just being like, this is who I am. I'm vegan. I'm super intense. I love volleyball. This is who I am. And people were like, all right, cool. Come hang with us. I was like, wow, awesome. I wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Right.
Okay. Well, since we're on the topic, so kind of tell us and walk us through why you decided to become vegan and your thoughts on animal rights and all that stuff. I know that's something you're super passionate about. So
yeah, add us to your list of people asking you about veganism. Add us to the list right now. Gabby Curry, who we already talked about, our former roommate, she's vegan too. So we lived with her and we were able to kind of see her journey with that. But I want to hear all about your opinions on it and things like that.
Yeah, I think I actually learned Gabby's name because I learned that she was like another vegan libero. There's a weird number of just like vegan liberos in the NCAA. It's kind of cool. It's like libero connection, you know?
Yeah.
Period. So I actually had been kind of curious about it just because I've always loved animals. Begged for a dog like the second I knew what dogs were. Just like had this deep love for animals. And so I was curious about it through my teens. And then when I met Robbie, he had been vegan for 4 or 5 years before we met. And so he didn't like push it on me and wasn't like, you're a terrible person for not doing this. But he was like, hey, this is why I do it. These are the benefits. And you make your own choice. And then after he went back to the UK, I just like watched the documentaries like Dominion that are just people going undercover into slaughterhouses to videotape the legal practices which occur in slaughterhouses to make beef out of cows, to make dairy from dairy cows, to make chicken, to get egg, bacon, any pork, like fur, leather. It documents all of that stuff, and it's the legal practices for like 99% of the world or something. And that's how like 99% of meat and dairy is produced. And so it's not just like this outlandish thing that you can avoid paying for, you know? And it's, I don't know a single person who can sit down and like watch the whole thing through. It's gruesome and awful. And I watched it and I was like, you're telling me that every time I buy like a piece of chicken from the store, this is what I'm paying for? And I realized that and I was like, I can't be complicit with that. I don't agree with this and I don't want to support it. There's this whole other way of eating, of fueling my body without supporting that industry. And so once I realized that, then I learned about the health benefits. Like I feel so much better. Like I recover so much faster. My body's inflammation levels have gone down so much. My acne like went away because I stopped drinking milk. And all of a sudden, like my actions and my morals were aligned. And that was something that I didn't realize was missing before I went vegan. But then as soon as I went vegan, like within weeks, within months, I was like, wow, like I feel like everything in my life is so much more clear. And I just like, I have no desire to ever go back.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you. Good for you. That says so many things about your character. Like one, we've already gone over this, but like you care so much. And the fact that your actions can match how much you care is so impressive. Two, your discipline. Like obviously now you're probably at the point where like a burger probably doesn't sound good. But like in the beginning, I'm sure that there was times where it was like really hard to say no. But then you just like go back to your morals and go back to your values. Like kudos to you, Zoe. That's freaking dope.
So one of the, I forgot what I was going to say.
I was just gonna say, like, I experienced like living with Gabby Curry. I know being vegan is not easy, like it's not cheap, and like obviously it probably is a little bit different in California and Austin than it is in Kentucky, but like it's not like at high supply here. Like it's not easy to go out and find a vegan restaurant here, and then you're on a team where it's like not really ideal for you to get a different meal when everyone else is getting a meal from someplace else. And so for you to be that disciplined and to care that much about it, even when it's like probably not that easy and accessible, like Brett said, that's really a true testament to your character. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my first year at Santa Barbara, I think everyone like lives in the dorms and eats in the dining commons their first year at least. And so that was probably, I'd say, the hardest part for me, just eating in the dining commons, and I didn't have that many options. So I kind of had to get creative with like the buffet or whatever and different stir fries I'd make and whatever. But it really all comes down to the why. And for me, like people who are vegan or plant-based because they want to lose weight. Right. That's not really usually a strong enough why to when someone is holding ice cream in front of you or someone just made you a home-cooked meal for you to be like, no, I'm not going to eat that. But if it comes back, for me, it comes back to I'm not supporting that industry. I do not want to see animals treated that way, and I will fight that every single second of the day. Easy peasy. Like that person has frozen yogurt over there. Cool. I'll go home and make my own. That doesn't have any cruelty involved in it, you know? And so when I was able to like actually cook for myself, like that's why even Austin didn't have great options vegan wise, not compared to LA, but I don't eat out like at all. I cook everything at home. And so things like rice, beans, any vegetables, all that is significantly cheaper than meat. So if you're eating just like plant-based, it's actually cheaper than eating non-vegan.
It's all the fun stuff. Yeah.
It's all like the vegan meat and stuff, which I do use. I do absolutely use that just because convenience, right? Why not?
Right.
But it absolutely can be cheaper and accessible because just like the raw foods that we eat, bread, rice, beans, whatever, that's all cheaper than like a pound of chicken.
That's so interesting, Zoe. Good for you, girl. Keep doing it and keep talking about it too. Like my parents or my grandparents are farmers. Like I grew up around the ag industry my whole life, and obviously moving across the country and like living with different people and seeing different perspectives like changed my world. Like I don't eat meat every day anymore, and my grandparents probably would like roll over in their, they're not that. Oh my God, I almost said roll over in the graves. But like if they knew that, they probably wouldn't be super happy. But it's pretty cool. But Zoe, the reason that Z and I, kind of changing the subject, but the reason Izzy and I wanted to do this podcast is because of stories like this. Like, we want to show people that there's so much more to us than our sport, right? And when we get to college, it's like,
Hello.
yeah, you're good now.
Go ahead.
You lost me for a second. When you get to college, it's like, you are your sport. That's who you are. And then by the end of college, I think girls specifically work really hard to make it less about their sport and more about who they are as a person, right? And obviously, we've been talking for 30 minutes about everything except for volleyball, which is why I want to talk about volleyball. Freaking natty champ. Let's talk about that. Of all people, like, Z and I talk about the natty weekly. It comes up in conversation weekly, like, still to this day. And I keep telling people about this year's season. You guys were so dominant. That is kind of how we felt in 2020, like our 2020 team, where we just had too many weapons that when we made it to the Final Four, we're like, there's no way anyone's beating us. Honestly, that is how you guys looked this year. Yeah. Talk us through that, being the bro, being the girl, and, I think you looked like you were the glue of the team. I don't know if you were, but you looked like you were that glue. So talk us through this year. How was it to do it all?
Probably one of the best years of my life. And not at all what I was expecting. Like, you look at Texas from the outside, and I kind of thought it was going to be this, like, well-oiled machine that I was going to come in, help the team as much as I can, learn as much as I can, and then go. Like, I was kind of thinking of it as, like, the first year of my pro career, because I'm only going to be there for 1 year, right? But then I get there, and the staff cares so freaking much about every single one of their players. Like, if you were ever having a bad day, I can go the day where I just was, like, just not having a good day. And I, like, went up to the corner of Gregory, and I, like, had my book, and I had my journal and my lunch, and I just, like, sat up there and read and, like, wrote in my journal and was just, like, crying, just, like, eating my lunch, just hanging out by myself before practice. And, like,
girl, it happens. Yeah, happens to the best of us.
And, like, literally our head coach just saw me up there, walked over, sat with me and let me cry. And he was like, hey, I'm here for you. You are loved. Like, you can talk about it if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. Just know we appreciate you. We love you. It's all going to be okay. And I literally, obviously, it made me cry harder.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But, like, that's just such an example of how much they care about us as people, and we're so good at making us feel appreciated. So that when we came together as, like, such a deep roster, everyone was so bought in because everyone felt cared for. Like, 1 to 18, we had walk-on freshmen who were, like, banging balls at us and, like, making me better every single day. Like, 1 to 18, every single person was so bought in. And then the coaching staff did such a good job of making us remember to be present and not look too far in the future. Not even look in the future at all. During the tournament, we had like a paper on each of our lockers that said 1 match at a time. And then the piece of the bracket, we were on, like, Texas versus Georgia, Texas versus Ohio State, and just that match. And so then we got to the Final Four and we got to the finals, and we weren't, like, talking about what it would be like to win a national championship, or, like, we win this game and we win a national championship. And so when we won, I was like, wait, what? It could be over. Yeah.
Fast. Yeah.
What everyone else was talking about this season, what we were all talking about through the spring, like, we actually did it.
Right.
And, like, it literally just did not hit me at all because the coaching staff just did such a good job of making us stay present and just so bought in. Like, I cannot even describe the feeling. It was so cool. Just the togetherness that we had with the team and the staff.
Mm-hmm. We, like, me and Brett, it's the best day of our lives. Like, and it's not close. Like, it was just, like, the most surreal experience ever. And so everyone should get to experience that feeling sometime. That was the best thing ever.
Yeah. But it's crazy how few people get to.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't, and people say that it's a dream of theirs, like, to win a national championship. I never even thought about it because it's one of those things that, like, you have to get there's some luck involved, obviously.
Yeah.
You have to be on an amazing team. And, like, it just doesn't happen for very many people.
Right.
Nobody gets to finish the season with a win, much less their
Right.
college career with a win. And so I just was never like, I can't really control that. And so we actually won, and I was like, yeah, that was way more awesome than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah. I always tell people, you know, there's this statistic like 1% of high school athletes get to be collegiate athletes. And then like probably 1% of that 1% get to win a national championship. I made that statistic up in my head, but like,
it feels like it might be
something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. Round it up for sure. But
for sure.
it's pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool. Did you get a tattoo, Zoe? Did you get your horns up?
I have not yet. I am planning on getting it, but my life has been a little crazy for the last couple weeks. But I am absolutely gonna get one.
I'm sure. Okay, I didn't get one either, and I need to. Like all my teammates, Z has one on her finger, and I didn't get one because I don't have any tattoos, but I think I need to. So you don't
have to. You don't have to. Like tattoos are for some people and not for other people. I love them. I got
yeah. I would love like it's such a good conversation starter to have like a national championship tattoo. Like who wouldn't want to ask you about that? So
right. Okay, Zoe, I have one more question for you, and this you can kind of talk about it, but we've talked about I guess the NIL landscape a lot in the last few episodes and period. But one benefit of that is you're able to do a lot of camps, and I know you really enjoy doing that. But with the camps, we read on that one part of your camps that you're really passionate about is concussion prevention. And we think that was really interesting because, like, that's not something you hear about a lot. And I guess it's really prevalent, especially for liberos. So talk about that a little bit and why you became so interested in that.
Well, it's probably the number one injury for liberos, right? And I think people are talking about concussions a lot more in the U.S. nowadays, like with NFL, NBA, they're all talking about it way more. So more people are aware of the effects and what it looks like and stuff. But I think most people talk about it like after you get a concussion, then how are you treating it? How are you like actually taking the time to recover from a concussion? Not a lot of people are talking about how to prevent a concussion. And in my opinion, like any volleyball player, any person, honestly, regardless of how athletic you are, if you stand 10 feet away from someone and just like chuck a ball at their face, they're going to move out of the way or like protect their face, right? But as soon as we put knee pads on and get on the volleyball court, we all just like snap our hands together in our platforms as the ball is getting hit at us because we're supposed to like dig with our platform. And so people get hit in the face. And I think that's preventable. And so it's one of the techniques that Robbie and I actually came up with to prevent concussions, to make myself feel safer. Like, I'm sure you know, Maddie, like digging middles, so scary.
It's impossible. I will go to my grave saying it's not possible. Yeah.
Well, like when I was playing at UCSB.
For you, maybe,
Texas, but when we played Texas, I was like trying to dig Breon Butler, and I was literally just there. Please don't hit me. Like just ducking balls like left and right. And then the next year, I was like, I have to figure this out because I just don't feel safe. And this is an injury just waiting to happen. It happens to so many people. So many people I know have to end their careers because of concussion. And so I just think we should keep our hands apart longer. And there are specific techniques that I like teach at my camps that I do to prevent concussions. And it's something I'm super passionate about because I think it's an injury that is preventable, that is not currently being prevented. And so that's like one of the things that I'm trying to give back to volleyball.
That's
good for you. Good for you. That's one thing Z and I noticed right away when we were on your website. We're like, that's so necessary and overdue probably. Zoe, we have 2 minutes, but our last question, and the question we ask all of our guests is, what is your best piece of advice that either you've been given or that you would like to give?
My best piece of advice is to really just live in the now. And I know kind of everyone says that one point in time, be present, whatever. But like, we get so caught up in, am I a good volleyball player? Am I playing well? Do the people around me think I'm good? Do people like me? That we forget to be where our feet are and we forget to have fun with what we're doing. So many college players just lose all the joy. So that's one of my favorite quotes, be where your feet are. And so I'll just sometimes just press into my toes and remind myself, okay, let's take a look of where am I right now? Let's enjoy that and come back to that. And so if people can forget about their surroundings, forget about any shame, forget about the worries about the future, and just come back to being where your feet are, you'll have so much more joy. So much more joy.
I love that. I love that.
That was great. Zoe, thank you so much. Incredible, and even more incredible now that we know you a little bit better. And so we're really honored and thankful. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. You guys are awesome.
Hey.
Of course. And good luck overseas. Whenever we see you post, we're going to be your biggest fangirls. Then saying that we knew it first. So
I know. We knew first.
You guys did. Thank you so much. And let's chat again soon. Thanks, guys.
For sure. Of course.
Period.
All right.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.